Before this video starts, I'd like to say a few words. Just like my last Walton Files video, the one that I posted this morning, that being the analog horror analysis of Faces of Grief, is doing seriously well. I literally woke up to it already having 1,000 views in just a few hours. That's extremely incredible, and the average view duration is almost 20 minutes. I mean, thank you guys, truly. Everybody's been so nice in the comments, and it's so cool to just have this audience that I've built up. And speaking of audience, we're getting really close to 4,000 subscribers, so I'd really like it if you guys could just squeak out that W, please. That would just be really cool. And last but not least, if you haven't already, you need to check out the live streams that I do every now and then. I mean, look at the great content you're missing out on. Oh, he's kind of taking him out. That scared the hell out of me. Oh my god! What the fuck? Can you believe that there are people on this earth who actually missed watching that? Don't be a loser, go watch when I stream. So with all that being said, thank you for the support on the new video. Let's try to get to 4,000 subscribers before the end of the month, and watch my live streams. In the intro to my last video, I told you that it had been a very long time since I ever made a video on analog horror analysis. So long, in fact, that I encouraged the viewers to go look at the last time I made an entry into that series, because it had been almost 2 years. And although I stated in that video that I did not have the proper motivation to continue the series, I actually had a lot of excitement and nostalgia making my last video. So the other night I looked back at all my old analog horror analysis episodes, and I realized that I do kind of miss it. They didn't get the most attention, but they were very fun to make. But I do not like how they were crafted. Most of the video was just me showing you the video rather than talking about it or analyzing it, which was the entire point of the series. And whether that was due to laziness or ignorance when it comes to video making, I just didn't like those videos. So I unlisted them all, except for the full season 1 video that I made 6 months ago. Just in case you wanted to go see some early Jofo footage, I kept that up on my page. But I did enlist all the individual episodes, with the plan of revamping the series to what it was originally supposed to be, an in-depth breakdown and analysis of an analog horror series. So, welcome to an analog horror analysis, the rerun, hosted by your boy Jeffo. I was originally going to say welcome to the first episode, but the Walton Files episode is technically the first episode of this rerun, so whatever. This episode is about the Battington tapes. I have covered these before, but again, it was in the original series, and I do not like how those videos were made, so we're running it back. With all that being said, thank you for clicking on this video, and let's begin. It's no secret that FNAF VHS tapes have been around for a very long time. Whether you'd like to blame the birth of FNAF VHS on people like Junior0437, who started making FNAF VHS style content back in 2017, or people like Squimpus McGrimpus, who was responsible for making the entire FNAF VHS tape scene pop off in 2020. But really, who wants to give any sort of credit to that guy? Regardless of who you choose, there's no denying that FNAF VHS tapes have been around for a good minute. The only problem with the beginning of the FNAF VHS tapes, and even somewhat nowadays, is that everybody has the same exact models all the time. Nobody makes their own. But that is not the case when it comes to Battington. I am very sincere in my belief when I say that Battington's models are probably my favorite FNAF models ever made. They have a very satisfying look, if that makes any sense. And not only did he make absolutely perfect models when it came to FNAF VHS tapes, but he basically took Squimpus McGrimpus' series and made it a million times better. There's a lot of petty jokes that I can make about Battington absolutely mogging Squimpus McGrimpus when it came to buffing out his entire original series, but, you know, this channel's above those types of jokes, okay guys? And throughout all that time, Battington has never flopped. All of his VHS tapes, whether they be a remake of something else or not, have consistently been very good, and I actually think his original VHS tapes are better than his remakes. Something that I actually do have a really big problem with when it comes to Battington though, is the fact that he rejected me on Valentine's Day. We don't need to talk about that. But with all this out of the way, it'd probably be a good time for us to actually get into the meat and cheese of this video, which is his VHS tapes. So without further ado, let's get into them. Now, although this first episode isn't the most gut-wrenching out of all of them, I think it's a good introduction to the tone that this series will set. It's eerie, it's unsettling, it doesn't drag on, it gets right to the point, and altogether, it is just a high-quality animation. It starts with Freddy approaching the door, opening it, kind of tripping inside, before he asks the man behind the camera, "What are you doing?" But he says it in a strange way. He says it in a very docile tone that does not match his body language. Whether he can help it or not, his demeanor is very threatening and eerie. Now, a lot of the series isn't really like this, but I believe that this tape kind of captures the fact that although these robots are giant metal things that want to kill you, they are possessed by children. So when he says, "What you doing? Why are you hiding?" I don't believe that he means it in a way to mock or tease the cameraman before killing him. I think that's genuinely just how he carries himself and the way he's talking to the person in front of him. Now, this is definitely reading too much into it, but I like to imagine that the reason that he tripped inside this room is because this might have been soon after the murders and he's trying to get adjusted to his new body. Maybe that's why he was acting so docile towards the cameraman, is because he doesn't know what he looks like. He doesn't know what he is. He's just a child. Regardless, this does not change the cameraman's fate, as he turns to his left and sees Foxy inches away from his face. We then get a shot of animatronics' heads flashing on screen that is somewhat reminiscent, in my opinion, of the FNAF World teaser trailer, as it says, "Ready for a rerun," obviously hinting at the fact that these are remakes of Squamous McGrimpus tapes. It begins to flash the words "Party, Rock, Eat, Play" as loud circus music blares in the background, and it ends with it saying "Where fantasy and fun come to life," obviously the Fazbear Entertainment slogan. And that is where the first tape ends. The second tape is a direct copy of Squamous McGrimpus' first FNAF VHS tape, a Fazbear Entertainment video manual, where you are repairing Freddy. I cannot get over how absolutely gorgeous these models are, but besides the point. It goes through the whole shebang of pressing the red button on his back, and then pressing the blue button on his head, tapping his shoulder. But what the f was that? For just a split second, out of the corner of our eye, we see what seems to be the ghost of a small child peeking around the edge of the screen before dashing away. We see Freddy's face light up in his lullaby play right after this happens, so this must be Gabriel haunting the tape. Nothing is very interesting about this tape, if I'm going to be honest. It's basically a direct copy of Squamous McGrimpus' tape, where you move his head, his arms, his torso, and then it says "Climb inside the torso and accept your death." There's not really much to analyze here, it's just a straightforward, scary FNAF VHS tape. On to the next one. The beginning of the next tape, we see a shot of Freddy and the gang playing up on stage, but something is clearly wrong with Bonnie. If you listen very closely, you can actually hear that the sound that Bonnie is making is the same sound that Golden Freddy makes when he jump scares you within Five Nights at Freddy's 1. I also find it rather interesting that this is one of the only times that Battington ever shows us the band playing up on stage, and even when the location is up and running, it seems to be very dark. I don't know if this is just a lack of care when it comes to the lighting on Battington's part, or if he did that for a specific reason, just to make the location more grungy. But to be fair to Battington, when we saw the FNAF 1 band play for the first time and the FNAF 1 trailer, it also looked pretty dark in the location. So maybe this is just Battington running along with the pattern of the FNAF 1 location, which this is supposed to be, just being a darker, more rundown place. We get a scene of what looks to be a random party room when Freddy walks in a frame, and you can tell that this is a person in the suit by the eyes and also just the more fluent movements. But the eyes thing will come up later. He says that doing a repair on Bonnie will be as easy as 1, 2, 3 before he disappears, and the door that was behind him is now opening on its own. To actually repair Bonnie, we must put him into repair mode. Just like the Freddy repair tape, there isn't too much to analyze in this moment due to the fact that it's really just the regular repair protocol, that being moving his head, his legs, his arms, his torso, his mouth, stuff like that. But Freddy's voice begins to glitch as we kind of figure out that it's at this point that a spirit has infiltrated the VHS tape. As we will learn later, these VHS tapes are just setting up the bigger picture of what this series is going to be. These aren't just some random spooky VHS tapes that are just popping up out of nowhere, there's a reason that they're here. And I wouldn't imagine that all of Fazbear Entertainment's training tapes are like this. They'd most likely get in a lot of trouble for that. So maybe we are a specific person that needs to see this. Maybe these spirits are giving us a message. Regardless, it does not keep its facade up for long, because after we check the eyes, we get a shot in which all the lights turn off in the building, and we get a very sister location style shot of us flashing a light over and over, and as the flashing of lights gets quicker and quicker, we start to see Bonnie getting closer to us as a lullaby plays very loudly in the background. It ends with the light flashing very rapidly as Bonnie speeds his way towards us, and right before the VHS tape ends, he gets very close, his eyes turning into a more human form as we hear the scream of what sounds like an adult male. This could possibly be the man who was doing the training on Bonnie. The next tape is definitely a fan favorite just for its intro alone. When I first saw this tape, I thought it was kind of weird that a little girl would have a giant 80s camera in the bathroom, but now I think it's just her perspective through her eyes and it just has a VHS tape style lens. Obviously, spirits can do that, I guess. We don't really know what has set up this predicament that this child is in, where Chica is pursuing her in the bathroom. I would be surprised if Chica was just killing people in the bathroom in the middle of the day while people are having birthday parties, but there's also a rule on the wall that says leave after dark. Maybe this girl didn't. Now we know how the series ends, Chica kills her, whatever, but there's something very interesting about this scene that I want you to pay attention to. As Chica reaches for the girl, we see the ears of Spring Bonnie behind Chica popping above the bathroom stall. Now, it's interesting because this implies that Spring Bonnie is manipulating these animatronics into killing children, but this is Susie that she's killing, and we find this out earlier, so that would mean that at this point, although Chica is not possessed, she's still killing children. So maybe William Afton is creating these animatronics to kill kids, similar to how in the official lore, he was making the sister location animatronics with the purpose of kidnapping children. Now we're actually getting somewhere in the series. We then get a shot of Chica in a training room as we hear the sound of a grown man in the room with her, that being the part of her that receives a sound rather than delivering a sound, and he makes a point to say that he can't imagine what could have been so loud that it blew out the sensors. Obviously, we know what blew out the speakers, which is Susie screaming as Chica killed her. Or Spring Bonnie killed her. We don't really know. Now by this point they've already repaired her sensors, but they have to do a sound response check. So that is the purpose of this training tape. The person is ordered to sound alarms on the left and right hand of Chica, and if her sound response check is actually doing well, she should look in the corresponding directions in which the sound is coming from. Again, this is just a run-of-the-mill training tape for now, so I'm not going to bore you with the, groundbreaking visuals of her just looking left and right over and over again. When Chica is asked to look at her left, we see for only one frame the silhouette of a child. It is shortly after this that the VHS tape warns us to not have any children nearby, as the animatronics will react to the sound of children. That's also interesting because maybe Susie is making noises inside of Chica's body as she has stepped into her. Maybe she is somewhat still alive. This point is driven forward when we see another frame in which the child is shown inside of Chica. We don't ever hear from the person who was in the room with Chica when he was doing the training tapes. His sentence is cut off when he says that everything should be a-okay after he gets the training done, but guessing if he's dead or alive is really a coin toss. We get one more screen in which it says the audio will play in 3 seconds, but something different happens this time. We get a black and white scene of a doorway leading to darkness within the Fazbear's location, and we see Spring Bonnie's face appearing in the threshold of the door. As Spring Bonnie moves throughout the pizzeria, we see the silhouette of Susie following him. This is clearly a reference to Susie being lured away by Spring Bonnie. She has very interesting dialogue in which she explains that she feels like a bird sleeping in the snow, and then it can't breathe, and it dies in the snow. Now we don't really know if she's talking about being in the suit, not being able to breathe in the suit, and dying in the suit, or if she is the clueless sleeping bird as she follows Spring Bonnie, awaiting her death. Battington has a very black and white way of doing his VHS tapes, in which some of the themes will be left up to your own horrifying imagination, and then the other ones will kind of catch you off guard with its very blunt explicitity. And it's mixed very well because a lot of series will get pretty dry with trying to leave everything behind closed doors and taking the whole left up to your imagination thing too seriously, but then on the other side of the coin, a lot of series will get far too gruesome for it to really have a point. As Sophie is led into the back room, we see the door slam behind her before we just get a still shot of Chica staring directly at us. It takes a good moment, but after a while of her staring at us, we see her mask begin to fall away before it drops to the floor and we see the ghost of Susie staring back at us within the suit.
Ahoy, me mateys! It be your favorite swashbuckling buccaneer, Foxy, the Pirate Fox! Arg!
Pirate Cove Pre-Show is by far a fan favorite when it comes to the series that Battington has built up. Not only because of its great voice acting, but also the uncanniness that these animatronics withhold and the visuals that surround them. Usually, when we go to see the animatronics perform, it's usually just them lip-syncing over a song. Battington actually took the time to write out an entire screenplay for them to perform.
When I tell ya, we got a grand show for you today, in just about 10 minutes! Wait, 10 minutes? That's right, 10 minutes! Can you bloody believe it?
10 minutes? Why, we better gather our gear before time runs out.
Oh, and I've got to prep my singing voice. La 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 la!
Bonnie, make yourself useful and mop the stage, will you?
Whatever you say, Mr. Bossman.
Just try not to slip, Cottontail.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
Hey! Will you landlubbers stop mucking around? Anyway, you scallywags just be here in time for the show. Not a moment before, and not a moment later, you hear? Or else you'll be forced to walk the plank!
Now, this interaction between all the animatronics would begin to loop many times, and in between these loops we would get scenes of Foxy slowly coming out of his cove and running down the hallway. But you can hear the sound of children playing and party music in the background. So with Freddy being aggressive during a training tape, Foxy being aggressive during the daytime, Chica attacking a little girl in the bathroom, and Bonnie being aggressive on stage, it doesn't really matter if it's daytime or nighttime, the animatronics are still a threat. As you're seeing right now, we're getting a picture of 5 children sitting on chairs in front of the Pirate Cove stage. Keep this image in your brain. We would get the same scene again of Foxy screaming at the camera, Chica having a horrible voice, Bonnie slipping, Freddy being disappointed, and Foxy telling them all to stop fucking around. The difference this time, however, is Foxy's laugh is cut off short. Watch.
Later, you hear? Or else you'll be forced to walk the plank!
So this tape is kind of working like PT. I know I always bring up PT, but just bear with me. It loops over and over again, and as it progresses, it keeps getting more and more distorted, more sinister. We see a Foxy emerging even more out of his cove before we see his hook pull out the curtain, and then we see him running down the hallway. And I just have to say, I love the very low frames of him running down the hallway. I would prefer that much more over a smooth animation, because again, it gives it more of a retro feel, which Battington excels at. And now we see that one of the children that we saw before is now gone. The tape loops again, and so far everything is fine, but the music is gone and it seems just a little bit more distorted than usual. Freddy sounds black as ever. Sorry. Foxy's just as loud and Chica still has her horrible singing voice. So what about Bonnie?
Bonnie, make yourself useful and mop the stage, will you?
In the absence of the child that we saw before, Bonnie has been stuffed with a human. A giant black bar censoring his midsection, leaving what could be behind it to your imagination, and human eyes protruding from his eye sockets. Now, another way that we could interpret this tape is the fact that these videos are not just the same video on a loop over and over again and then messed with the next time that it's shown to us, but it's different videos recording the same performance every single day that Freddy Fazbear's is opening, showing you the brutality of being trapped in these suits and having to do the same play over and over and over again. The difference between the ending of this one is that Foxy doesn't just cut to black, he full on disappears. And then we get the shot of the children sitting on the chairs again, but 2 of them are missing, not just 1. We don't get a scene in between the sets this time, it just shows you the aftermath of what's happened. Gabriel has been brutally killed and stuffed inside of Freddy. And then we go over to the scene with Chica.
Oh, and I've got to prep my singing voice. La 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 la.
It seems that in between the killings of Bonnie and Freddy, the scene within the bathroom where Chica kills Susie takes place, as when she tries to sing, not only does she scream like Susie, but she turns purple. I think the reasoning for this is because we know that William Afton has an influence over these animatronics to kill kids because he was in the bathroom with Chica when she killed Susie. Now with this, we have 1 child left. The tape is basically unrecognizable at this point, and there's not a single animatronic other than Foxy that hasn't been brutally stuffed with the child's body. It doesn't take long for Fazbear Entertainment to catch on to what you're watching, where a sign pops up and says, "Warning, viewing of this tape is prohibited, discard it immediately," because obviously Fazbear Entertainment does not want you to be looking at whatever the hell it is you're looking at right now. Before finally, we get a shot of Spring Bonnie surrounded by empty chairs as he says, "What's the matter, Foxy? I thought you wanted an audience." Before the ghosts of the children appear on the screen as blaring circus music appears in the background, we get a close-up on Spring Bonnie's face before the scene quickly changes to Foxy looking down a hallway as the door in front of him opens by itself to where in the black void that it opens up to, you see Fredbear hanging from a noose before whatever is keeping him alive is no longer. I find it interesting because in the performance footage that we've seen throughout this tape, Foxy is fixed. He has no tears in him. He looks to be in pretty pristine condition. Although when he is looking down this hallway, he is withered. He has no skin on his legs, and he has a tear in his chest. In fact, it's actually Fredbear who seems to be in the better condition, even though in this FNAF lore and the official FNAF lore as well, Fredbear is a much older animatronic than Foxy is. I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was interesting. But maybe William Afton might have tore up the Foxy animatronic as he stuffed a body into him. We don't really know. Now, what is undeniably the most important tape within the Battington series, which is non-existent video. The purpose of this video is to go over the origins of Fredbear's Family Diner. Now, at the beginning, it seems like this tape is just going to be a run-of-the-mill training tape on how to properly use the spring-lock animatronic suits. But the further that we get into the series, the quicker the facade slips away when it comes to the VHS tapes acting normal. We see a very uncomfortable and claustrophobic sequence of a man in a spring-lock suit frantically looking around as he is on stage. Now, I'm not going to say that this is somebody possessing a suit. I'm just going to say that this is, a worker at Fredbear's Family Diner, possibly Henry. And as he looks to his left, you can see William Afton standing over the corner. Or the criminal, I guess. We get a shot of what looks to be a Sister Location style endoskeleton calling out a very distorted version and bit crush type of tone version of Happy Birthday. And can I just say, this bathroom section looks super cool, by the way. I don't know what really inspired Battington to make a bathroom look like this, but I love the style of it, the tile everywhere and the colors on the ground. It's very, very cool. Battington has been very vocal with his dislike over the practicality of the animatronics within the official FNAF games, which is understandable, of course. So it's pretty clear that Battington wanted to expand on the functionalities of these animatronics and how a real-life version of spring-lock suits would work if they were real. And Battington does a very good job at showing you just how insane these suits would be, how stuffy, how uncomfortable, how heavy, how hot. Now imagine being in this hot suit in the heat of a Utah summer, having to run around in a mascot costume at a kid's birthday party, but you cannot sweat a drop without risking your life. And we can see by the time that this training tape had come out, they had already have multiple spring-lock suits because of the blood stains that you could see around the eye sockets of the mask. As I said before, Battington does an extremely good job at showing just how claustrophobic and uncomfortable these suits would be. And we don't really know if Fredbear and Friends ever existed. It seems like we shift from Fredbear's Family Diner immediately to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, so I think that Charlie could have died here, especially since we see the face of a little girl under the table when we're looking directly at the Spring Bonnie costume. The spring-lock failure protocol is actually a lot more graceful than what Phone Guy tells us to do in FNAF 3, which is just move away from audiences before bleeding out so you don't ruin the customer experience. But unlike the official Fazbear Entertainment, Battington's universe actually has 6 rules, which is 1. Don't panic, 2. Don't move, 3. Call for help, 4. Calm your breathing, 5. Have a coworker wind up the spring locks, and 6. Carefully remove the costume. Now, obviously, this is not going to work because a spring lock failure is instantaneous and just crushes your entire body, but hey, at least you're trying. We then, for about a solid 5 seconds, get a shot where it talks about Fredbear getting a hydraulic jaw because of how heavy his teeth are. The description of the jaw reads, Fredbear jaw upgrade. Fredbear's costume was designed with a large jaw to hold all the teeth for a full smile. Unfortunately, that means modifications were needed for the animatronic to function properly. The Fredbear animatronic had problems with moving its jaw with all the additional weight. Both animatronics were designed with the intention of having similar features, with Bonnie Bun being the main focus for design. To compensate for Fredbear's large jaw, we've installed 2 additional hydraulics on both sides of the animatronic jaw. Fredbear is fully calibrated and ready to perform again. This is obviously hinting at the Bite of 83, which is the crying child getting his head crushed. This is just another situation in which Battington is making the Scott Coffin lore a little bit more practical by adding reasons on why something like this could happen. Instead of just a random low-budget animatronic having the power to crush a human skull, Battington gives a reason on why the animatronic would have that power, which is having multiple hydraulics within his jaw. This is why I believe that FNAF VHS tapes have really been a life raft when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's. With the way FNAF is now, I would not expect Five Nights at Freddy's to live for very long without its fandom making original content. As you see right now, we are getting a shot of Fredbear's face slowly zooming into film as the sound of a very old song plays in the background, the deep voice of the slowed song kind of rumbling through the audio, before the track itself starts to skip and we see the text "I bit someone" flashing on the screen. You get a shot of phone guy saying that you need to check inside the suits in the back room. This is where we learn that all the VHS tapes that we have watched up to this point have been the tapes that the night guard found when checking inside the suits. The text saying 4 tapes hidden inside their empty heads. Flashing back to past tapes, with Freddy being ripped apart with a smile, Bonnie dancing in the dark with the training tape, Chica and her wonderful song where we watch Susie die, and Foxy meeting the happy man, that being William Afton. We learn that the tape that we are actively watching is the one inside of Fredbear's head, but clearly we're watching this tape as somebody else, so who are we? Michael, there's something I want to show you. Before your brother died, something else happened. Something was wrong with the suits. Watch. Let me tell you a secret. The same thing happened to your father. It killed him, but only for a while. He's still out there. Do you want to find him? I'll show you. Do not worry about times, dates, or locations. You'll know when it happens. There will be a gasoline canister in the back, next to the second exit. Your father will be in the building with you. You will look different, but you will notice him. Then you can end this. For good. I know how you feel, Michael. It's a lot of responsibility. But when this is done, we will be free. You'll be free too. It may not seem like it, but I believe your brother will forgive you. I've forgiven you too. You are good, Michael. Despite what you might think, you do deserve this happy ending. I've been working all this time to give you that opportunity. I love you, Michael.
Well, folks, it's been a real pleasure having you here tonight.
We had to say goodbye, but cheer up, there's always tomorrow.
And just remember that a friend is the best thing you could ever have. When life gets you down, a friend will be there to help.
Yeah. For example, there was this one time I got stuck in a water machine. A friend of mine had a cut of hole in it just to get me out.
Due to the very solid foundation of the FNAF lore, Battington is, for lack of a better word, conveniently not really required to delve into the systematics of it. The systematics in question being things like Henry and Charlie, or the origins of Michael Afton, or stuff like that. He doesn't really need to delve into those things because of how solid they already are within our brains when it comes to being devout members of the fandom. We jump very far from non-existent video to the one we're watching right now, where it's been at least 35 to 40 years after this has happened, and we are now within Fazbear's Fright. Battington at this point has gone off the rails of recreating the Squumpus tapes and started expanding on the universe by himself. In the original Squumpus tapes, right after the speech the puppet gives, you actually watch Michael light Springtrap on fire, and in his lore, Springtrap actually dies, Michael dies with him, and you see that they are all together in heaven, and William is obviously not there with them. In the tape that we are watching right now, I do not believe that this is Michael Afton coming to Fazbear's Frights after the puppet has told him to, due to the reactions of the cameraman. He seems a lot more unsure of his surroundings. Meanwhile, it is hinted at least in non-existent video, that Michael would know what he was doing. I believe that the reason for this tape is really just to show where Springtrap is now and what state he is living in, that being in Fazbear's Frights, and what that environment looks like. What is undeniably my second favorite tape ever made by Battington, first tape going to non-existent video, is The Case of Edward Morris. As short as the film may be, I think it greatly captures the style that Battington has. Even disregarding the models that he uses, I think that you could recognize this film as a Battington film. Its pacing is steady and eerie. It doesn't jump out at you with some horrifying VHS tape until the very end, but even before that, it doesn't need some overarching, horrifying thing staring you right in the face for it to make you uncomfortable. From what we can tell, it seems that this should be the FNAF 2 location, but something stands out. The walls are obviously not the FNAF 1 or Fredbear's Family Diner location, and the animatronics from the FNAF 1 location look like their classic withered form. But as we learn later, the plot of this tape is that a teenager sneaks into the abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurant, and the way that these tapes are playing out, it seems that FNAF 2 within this universe is no longer a prequel, but a sequel, a second restaurant after the FNAF 1 restaurant. And you could take the withered, worn down versions of the animatronics as maybe this is the aftermath of Afton's attack, where he frees his spirits on accident and then gets himself spring-locked. But he has not been spring-locked yet. As we see, Spring Bonnie is still intact. It's just a man in a suit, rather a spirit in a suit. So it is not very clear to us what part in the timeline William Afton gets spring-locked. In the scene we are watching right now, we see a shot where Spring Bonnie is clearly already pursuing Edward, the man behind the camera, Edward Morris to be specific, as soon as he walks into the restaurant. Our boy Eddie here is not only taking a film of his venture, but also photos, as we see the knocked over photo of Freddy Fazbear, but we also see a spirit's face behind him on the shelf. As we later learn in the tape that Edward is a teenager, I don't know how he has the balls to do this, kudos to him, even though, you know, curiosity killed the cat, literally. We get a shot of him trying to jostle a gate open, which is somewhat reminiscent of the last tape that we saw when somebody was looking at the Springtrap banner in Fazbear's Frights. He is startled by the sound of Bonnie having some sort of issue. Bonnie is not attacking him. He is pointing him in the direction of what he thinks is a threat. Bonnie is helping him. Maybe it is due to the fact that he is a child. 14-year-old Edward looks down the hallway to see Spring Bonnie. As for a solid 30 seconds, we get shots of Spring Bonnie chasing Edward Morris around the pizzeria, as the entire VHS tape just does the definition of shit hitting the fan. As we see these shots of Spring Bonnie pursuing Edward, we get little sequences of the animatronics glitching out ferociously, most likely freaking out at the sight of not being able to help a child being killed by William Afton, just like how they were killed years ago. The final shot is blood on the camera lens as we watch Spring Bonnie grab him before we get this. We shed our hidden smiles. New fun has come to play. Our cries were not heard. The fawn could not stay. No empty box to shelter him. No silver eyes to see through. Run, little fawn. Before all hope disappears. Run, little fawn. The golden hare is here.
"15-year-old Edward Morris was found dead inside an air vent at Freddy Fazbear's Jr.'s after complaints of an awful smell that flooded the pizzeria. Edward Morris went missing after his friends dared him to hide inside the building until the place was closed to gather evidence that the pizzeria was haunted. Though it isn't clear if Edward's family will be taking any legal action against the pizzeria, Fazbear Entertainment has stated that they are not responsible for Edward's death or the man seen wearing the yellow suit. This is a public statement announcement to please be aware of the danger of being alone where you shouldn't be. You can be putting your own life at risk, so be safe, be smart, and stay far away from this man."
I honestly heavily debated including Battington's film The Horror Attraction into this video, as I thought that it didn't really add too much lore depth into the series, and rather was just a cool film, something standalone. But not only is it clear that a lot of work went into this film specifically, this film being almost 30 minutes long, meanwhile it takes me almost 3 hours to just make like a 2-minute animation in Blender, but I think the purpose of this film was to not just be some random fan film, but to give you a look at how greedy and horrible Fazbear Entertainment actually is as a company. How much they will do to try to sweep over the horrible history that this company resides in under the rug. Now I'm assuming that you'd be thinking, well, if this VHS tape is 20 minutes long, there must be a lot to analyze within it. But that's actually not very true. Although there are points in this VHS tape that you have to go in depth over, the numbers in which they appear are slim. Now the plot of this VHS tape is that a man goes to Fazbear's fights with his friends, I'm assuming to just have a good time on Halloween. Meanwhile, he gets stuck on a carriage by himself, separated from his friends, and he is stuck in a horrible loop in which he is tormented by the spirits. And I seriously mean loop. He is stuck going through this one ride over and over and over again, basically being laughed at by the things around him. But it's important to know what Fazbear Fright is putting within this haunted house to show you how sick they actually are. Some of the references that they make, like Chica peeking through the bathroom stall, lead us to believe that despite most of the tapes being found within the heads of animatronics, Fazbear Entertainment is aware of these tapes where we watch animatronics kill children, especially when in the haunted house is a recreation of the Foxy Meets the Happy Man panel where we see a bunch of children's skeletons sitting on differently colored chairs, how we saw them in the original VHS tape with William Afton standing over them after he has killed them. Not the most important thing, but something also cool to point out is the fact that as he is on the loop of this ride, the clock on the top left of his camera also starts freaking out, to where in one scene it says he's been recording for 26 minutes, then the next it's somewhere in the 40-minute range, and then back to 20 minutes in the next scene. So we don't actually know how long he's been in this loop. As I said earlier, these animatronics are posted up in a way that they are displaying the way that they died within the tapes. That also mean that the children inside of the animatronics are recreating the way that they died in this haunted house. The only quote-unquote living thing within that entire building is Springtrap. Now, as the puppet said in non-existent video, William Afton is technically dead, but we know that his spirit is so strong that I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one, that is, no pun intended, puppet mastering all of the visions that this cameraman sees. Stuff like chasing after Spring Bonnie just to see that it was a robot inside the suit the entire time. Or hearing the screams of his girlfriend being murdered, although I don't believe that she died, just to see a giant Fredbear head appearing down the hallway and chasing him before throwing up black liquid and basically birthing Springtrap out of his mouth. The ending climax of this film, we actually get a chase scene with Springtrap as he chases the cameraman down the hallway while the cameraman is in his cart. This is the first time in a good while in this film where we see the cameraman willingly get back on this ride. As the cameraman is chased down this ride by Springtrap, there are scenes in which you think he is surely a dead man, and there are scenes where you think he may make it out alive. But I mean, come on guys, this is a Battington tape. You know this guy isn't making it out of shit. For the first time in what could be minutes, hours, or days for this guy, he finally runs into the main lobby of the building. He can leave. As he literally sees light at the end of the tunnel, something else walks out of that end of the tunnel.
Why won't you just let me leave?
Thank you for watching this video. I'd like to give a special thanks to how good my last two videos have been doing. One of them getting 35,000 views and the other one getting 30,000 views. That's absolutely incredible, and I cannot thank you guys enough. Another thing to point out is that as of the time I'm recording this, we are 50 subs away from 4,000 subscribers, which is also just absolutely nuts. And I really think that we can hit that milestone before the end of the month, so please try to do that for me, please. As of the Battington tapes, other than the Walton Files, the Battington tapes are a very solid, close number 2 of my favorite FNAF VHS tape series of all time. And as for the VHS tape series who strictly goes along with the canon FNAF lore, Battington is absolutely my favorite. I love the way he styles his videos, I love the way he writes them, I just love everything about them. And I genuinely think they are a perfect FNAF VHS tape series. The title of this video is not to be dramatic, I am seriously glazing the hell out of this show. And I really hope he makes more, because I've been watching him since 2021 and I've just loved every single release. But with all that said, thank you for watching, and goodbye.